great to be here on Ben TV. My name is Tony K. Fretton, and today I'll be having a chat with Senior Constable Jeremy Oliver. Could you describe what you do, what your role is, on everything that is Jeremy Oliver?
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Jeremy Oliver. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him. And I'm a Senior Constable with Victoria Police. And my full-time role is an LGBTIQ Liaison Officer, working across the Southern Metro region. So geographically, that is Stonnington, Port Phillip at the top, right down the southeast corridor, down to Mornington Peninsula. I'm located at Prahran Police Station, but my work covers all of the southern region. We call them LLOs for short. One of two full-time LLOs and part of a network of 500 LLOs across the state.
For those who are a little bit unsure, what type of work does LLO, what do you actually do day to day?
The LLO program started about 20 years ago because we know that large parts of the LGBTIQ community, there's so many barriers for them to come and report things to police or engage or just ask for advice. So this program was created about 20 years ago, and it's since grown to 500 police officers that are LLOs as well. And it's really to ensure that there's an accessible person or an accessible pathway for the rainbow community to access police services. All of our LLOs either identify as LGBTIQ+ or are allies. They go through quite extensive training in the role. They network out with community, they attend a lot of events and recognised days of significance in order to be that trusted and safe person that community can approach to ask for advice or report something to. A lot of the work of the role is supporting vulnerable people, so what we tend to do is get a lot of requests from community members that may have been a victim of crime or experiencing mental health, maybe drug and alcohol addiction, homelessness. So really any support that they may need, they'll most likely reach out to an LLO and we support them however they need. We also do a lot of work with the police organisations, so we help our colleagues if they have any victims that identify as part of the community, and ensuring that they're helping them in a culturally safe way and linking them into the appropriate services. Yeah, so we provide a lot of advice and training and education to our colleagues. You'll see us out at events, and that's really to ensure that we're visible and community can feel comfortable engaging with us. We do a lot of recognising of days of significance like Trans Day of Visibility, Trans Awareness Week, Wear It Purple Day, Ida Hobbit. And again, that's really to show our commitment to community that these are important days for us, and also showing the commitment and recognition to our organisation to show that these issues are important as well.
A lot of us in the community would have seen a lot of police at a lot of our events and different things, and most likely there would be an LLO that isn't attended. What type of questions, what type of things do they have, assuming that they're heterosexual, cis, straight police officers? What are some of the main questions or things that they have or they seek advice from you?
What I find widely in the organisation, Victoria Police has a real appetite to educate themselves and know more and do better. So, things like understanding pronouns and knowing how to interact with community, what services are more appropriate for community as opposed to mainstream, predominantly heterosexual, cisgendered services. I get a lot of general questions just about, what's the best support service? Where can someone get more LGBTIQ+ specific legal support?
Right.
What happens if this person goes to court? What other supports can I organise for them? And in general, a lot of questions around things like, if someone uses these pronouns, what does that mean?
Right.
If they identify as, as an example, gender fluid, what does this mean? So I feel like the appetite is there for knowledge, and it's really up to the organisation, but also up to us as LLOs to educate our colleagues and peers. In my time, I haven't faced any discrimination or inappropriate questions or language. I know it does exist within the organisation, but I would hope that that's few and far between now.
Education is important, and I think LLOs who come from lived experience and are from the community is really important. Now, there have been, we chatted a little bit about this before, but there have been a few pride events or different things that happen within our community, and there is a group that's always protesting against the police. Can you explain your understanding of what that is and why that is, and what are some of the things that you're sort of doing to, I guess, not reduce them, but understand and open a dialogue with this group of people?
Yeah, you'll see LLOs popping up at a lot of events. We were at Pride Day on the weekend, Gippsland Day out. You'll see us popping up at Bendigo Pride. The idea for that is to be visible and to show community that we do have LLOs and really promote the network and our support for community. Where we have some tension with the community is really around marching in Midsumma Pride March. We've been marching for just over 20 years, and that started as a group of brave LGBTIQ employees who, 20-something years ago, it wasn't safe to be a gay or a lesbian or trans police officer. So they were brave enough to form a group to march in Pride. Since then, obviously, it's grown and grown, and now we usually see around 120 employees march, and that's both police officers and BPS staff. But also what we've seen in the last few years as well is some tension and some protest activity against us. And that's really reflective as well as what's occurring overseas. We've seen other police organisations banned from marching in their Pride marches. I think it's important for us as an organisation to be listening to what these groups and organisations are saying. So what we have done in the last couple of years is engaging with these organisations like Midsumma and Victorian Pride Lobby and Switchboard and different organisations that have sentiment that we need to listen to. And in the last 2 years, we've changed the way we march in Pride March. If nobody knew this, but this is what we've done in the last couple of years, is we now, whoever is marching, we don't march formally. So before 2 years ago, we used to march, with our arms outstretched, and it was on the beat. And so we've gotten away with that, so we can actually just wander now, as a celebration and have fun. We're now allowed to hold our partners' hands and go out and hug our friends in the audience and dance or high-five our nieces and nephews watching and things like that. So we weren't able to do that before. We're allowed to do that now. We're allowed to carry flags and banners and things. So we're allowed to carry things. I carry my fan.
Yes, of course.
Because it's fabulous and dramatic. And also we don't carry any equipment. So no firearms or any equipment if you're in the marching contingent. Our band plays pop music as opposed to the old formal music. Also, we have a lot more LLOs working out keeping the community safe. So we ensure that there's a large LLO presence, and they're all wearing their rainbow police identifying features. Yeah, so those are the main kind of changes that we've done, and I think it's significant change. What I'm really proud of is that we've engaged with the organisations and groups that had concern, and we've come to a sort of middle ground where we've changed and we've listened to what the community sentiment is. There's always going to be parts of the community that won't be happy with us, but I hope that we've done enough, and I feel like we probably could do more in the future to change the way we're presenting at the Pride March. But yeah, I hope that we're doing well in what we're doing to change the way we're marching.
I think Victoria Police is doing a good job in terms of this area. Now you described it that there are other LLOs around the country. Is that right? They're in other states and territories.
So there's LLOs all around the state. I know there's a large presence of LLOs in New South Wales, in Queensland. They have a great program. There's some in Northern Territory, and I'm unsure about South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. We recognise that Victoria, we have the only full-time LLOs, and we've got 2 of them. We hope that we'll have a few more in the future. We've got the largest network and a very well coordinated and network group of LLOs. So yeah, my hope in the future is that we work with the other states to encourage them to grow their network and possibly get some full-time LLOs as well, because it's not just important to have it here in Victoria. I think we can use our platform to encourage the other states in Australia to do the same.
Having LLOs and having a lot of LLOs in Victoria is really great, and that's shout out to Victoria Police. Well done for doing that. If I was a general member of the public and I had some type of issue, do I just bring the police and say, I'm LGBT, I need an LLO? Like, what's the process like for just the general public or just a general member?
Yeah, so there's several different ways people can get in touch with an LLO. So probably the fastest and easiest way is if you were to come into a police station and ask for an LLO or call a police station. We know that that's not accessible for a lot of community. They don't feel comfortable, there's fear, there's barriers. So other ways in which you can contact an LLO is either through a caseworker or a peer. So we get a lot of questions and information from a friend or a community service caseworker, and then we'll facilitate a meeting or a conversation that way through a safe person. Community can also, if they do contact 000 and it's an immediate response, obviously it will just be whoever's available at the time, but at that point, if they have the ability to, ask if they can speak to an LLO. And there's been multiple times where I would have been at work and then I'd be called out of the police station to go to a scene or a crime scene or whatever because someone's requested an LLO. So we can sometimes, if we're available, come out of work to come and join where that person is. Also, if it's a non-urgent crime, we have a police assistance line, which is 131444, and that's more of a non-urgent way of reporting something. And if you do call that phone number, you can speak to the operator online and say, I'd really like my report to go to an LLO, or I'd like an LLO to give me a call back. We also understand that a lot of community don't report things, but my advice and my message is that that information is very valuable to us. If you don't think you need to call police or report something, jump online onto Crime Stoppers or call the 1-800 Crime Stoppers line, and essentially that's a database of information that we can collect, and that way if you don't want to report it to police, at least we're saving and storing this information about what has happened to you or to a group of you. So then we can determine like if there's any current themes happening in certain pockets of Victoria that may need to come to our attention at some point. So it's almost like an anonymous reporting system, or kind of like a community information register that we can collect information and gather the data without it really progressing anywhere, but it's still rich information that we would like to know to keep the community safe, and then we might be able to do something about it. We might be able to commit resources to that particular theme or community concern that's kind of been raised. So those are the main ones. There's 000, there's our police assistance line, there's speaking to a caseworker or peer, there's calling or coming into a police station, or there's coming through an LLO. So you might see us at an event or know who we are, in person, so contacting us.
You've been in this role now for a few years, and I guess the program is growing a lot. What are some of the what are the best memories or some of the best things that you enjoy about your job?
So I've been doing the full-time role for 2 years, and before that I was a police officer for 4 years in Collingwood, and I was an LLO, so I had the additional portfolio as the LLO. So I've kind of been in this space for the last 6 years, and honestly, it's the most rewarding part of my job that I've experienced, because police work is hard, but it's made more rewarding because I'm supporting vulnerable members of my own community. So the best parts of my role is where, being a police officer, you see most people on their worst day of their life, and it might be their very worst, or it might be one of their worst days of their life. So if I can support that person on the worst day of their life, but in a culturally safe way, help them navigate policing services, and not just policing services, we're talking about the hospital, emergency department services, legal services, the courts, social support services. So if I can help navigate that person through these support services, and making sure they're navigating it in a culturally safe way and doing it with dignity and respect, then that's what is the most important part, and what I find very rewarding. I can think of so many times that has happened, whether it's me supporting a transgender young person that is being bullied at school and is experiencing domestic violence at home, and there's no safe space for them, supporting them and knowing that there's an actual adult that understands them, is on their side, can help them in whichever way they need. That's what makes me do what I do, and is the most rewarding part of the job. We do go out to a lot of amazing events, and we do train and educate our workforce, which is also amazing, but it's that one-on-one contact with vulnerable community members that's really important to me. Because you have the potential to, save a life or ensure that they're connected into the right services.
I've been able to witness Jeremy at a few different events, and you just look so happy to be there, and just happy to be part of everything, which makes it a bit more approachable. And I enjoy seeing you doing all of this for the community. How do the LLOs keep track of what's happening in the community in terms of services? Do you have network meetings? Are you constantly plugged into what's happening in our community? How does that work, and how does stakeholder engagement work for the LLOs?
To keep up to date on what's actually happening out in community, that a lot of that comes from us two full-time LLOs, but it's also how well networked the other 500 LLOs are out into community. And that's things like, we're part of a lot of community collaboratives where we've got a lot of representatives from different community services in these online forums. And it's really understanding and hearing from each of them about what concerns there are from different types of community. It's going to those events and hearing firsthand about what's actually happening out in the different pockets of community. Again, it's making sure that you're accessible and available to chat. I have a lot of conversations from different groups, and then it's about how we then respond and act on those kind of concerns. Also, it could just be a one-off thing that might be actually really important. So it's not to say that it needs to be a whole group of people reporting things. It's, even if it's just a once-off. I'm very proactive, and if I see an opportunity, I'll jump at it. So if there's anyone out in community that sees an opportunity to link in with us LLOs, then, that's where I would encourage you to get in touch. I do a lot of advocating in mainstream services, so we're talking about councils and universities and medical facilities, and that's really to advocate for more inclusive services in their practices, and that's where it also helps to link in, because not only is it linking in with rainbow community organisations, then we've got to also connect into mainstream services, because they have a lot of LGBTIQ plus clients, and again, all that knowledge and themes and questions kind of go nowhere because they don't link back into actual community groups.
What are some of the things that are upcoming that you're excited about? What's in the near future for LLOs, and where can people kind of connect with you in person? Or just in general, what are you excited about?
I think I'm most excited about a real focus at the moment on regional LGBTIQ plus communities. With the grants that have just come out for regional Victoria, the really roadmap that's been released in the LGBTIQ plus strategy that focuses on regional Victoria. There's the leadership program that's just been released. So what we plan to do is embed ourselves more out into the regions as well, because we know a lot of Rainbow community are moving out to the regions, and we'd like to be there to support them and support services as well out there. So the regional expansion is something that I'm really excited about. I'm really also excited about what we'll see with the decriminalisation of sex work. We know that tranche 2 is happening in December this year. And I think there's a real opportunity for LLOs to step up and support sex workers that either need, help with reporting crime or just any type of support. So I'm really passionate about supporting the sex working community, so excited about that. Also, if we do get more full-time LLOs, it'll be great to have that as a kind of expansive resource. So much. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about my job, so I think everything is exciting what's coming up. We also actually have just released as well a suite of resources. So we've got an updated LLO brochure. I developed an LGBTIQ plus resource guide, which we've just released. We've got calling cards, we've got posters. We're doing a comms and media strategy. A lot of the feedback that we get from community is that they either didn't know that LLOs exist, or they don't know how to get in touch with them. So we're really pushing for more marketing and comms around the program, so everyone knows what they do and where we are and how to get in touch with them. And that's just being rolled out as well.
Now, I hardly see you wearing a uniform. Is this something that you choose when to wear a uniform, when not to wear a uniform? How does that play in your day-to-day life as an LLO?
What I do in my role is I've identified that a lot of things can be triggering. We're talking about the uniform, obviously, but also things like my police lanyard, even right down to sending an email from my police email address can be triggering. Right. Us as LLOs have to be fully aware of how we present ourselves, and it's really up to me, depending on what I'm doing or who I'm seeing or where I'm going, I'll make a conscious decision around how I'm presenting. So, there's many times where I won't wear uniform, and that's where, if I'm talking to a vulnerable community member or I'm going to a particular event with a particular intersectionality of our community, and I really am led by community. So I'll have that discussion with whoever I'm meeting or wherever I'm going. Are you okay with the uniform? If not, I can come out of uniform. But yeah, it's a very fine balancing act, and it's really about how am I ensuring the cultural safety of that environment or that interaction with the people or group that I'm meeting with. So yeah, I do spend a lot of time out of uniform, but I would hope to get to a point where it's comfortable enough and safe enough for me to wear it, because it is part of the role. Right. But I also understand that it's not safe to wear that in a space. And then obviously I do a lot of work alone, so policy within Victoria Police, if you are in uniform, it does come with the level of risk from people outside of the Rainbow community. Right. I could present as a target, so it's not safe for me to go out in uniform by myself. So usually there needs to be a couple of us, but I do a lot of work by myself as a full-time LLO.
Now, understanding and listening to you explain everything around LLO, I feel a little bit more safer to approach LLO or the police in general. And I went through an incident early last year where I was a victim of crime, and my personal friends and family sort of saw what had happened. And I remember I had to go in an ambulance and get taken to the hospital and everything because of being a victim of this crime. And I actually felt the whole process for me was so, it felt like there was a lot of priority around LGBT people. I stated straight away that this is what had happened to me, and from the first police that arrived to the ambulance member to the hospital staff, they had a really great awareness around it. And I think for me, it's more just validating that all the work that the I guess first responders or to our emergency services, it did feel like there was work done, and I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart because of the work that you do. And I generally had this idea, people used to say, oh, the police is this, the police is that, and don't trust the police, that don't trust the data that they're collecting. But after going through my own personal, experience of it, I felt the value of the work that you're doing. Now, it doesn't invalidate anyone else's experience that they may have had with the police, and I'm only speaking for myself. So I'm really grateful, and I'd like to thank you on air publicly for that and all of the work that the police are doing. So yeah, thank you, and thank you for your time. Any last words? Anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Reflecting on, it's heartwarming to hear that you did have that support. And I guess it's really important for people to know that if they do experience anything or unfortunately experience something similar, there is support, whether it be in police or with the ambulance or at the hospital, in the legal service. There's actual LGBTIQ plus liaisons in most of these settings. So if there's ever a point where someone doesn't feel culturally safe or supported, then please say something, because there is support there, but it's just how do we link people into that and ensure that they're wrapped in that specific support. Because I would hope that everyone that needs that type of support is linked into it and can say the same thing as you did. And we know that's not the case, but that's my hope, is that people, can say something or speak up and say this is what they need.
Thank you, Jeremy, and to all of the LLOs around the whole entire state. Thank you for the work that you do. And if anyone is listening, or anyone has learned something today, please get in touch with the LLO and the whole great people that work there. So thank you. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Tony.